Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here for yet another daily talk of stock. And today it is Tuesday, June 17th. And when we look at the heat map here, we could see an overall sea of red. So the markets were very bloody today, finishing down with the only sector really being up today being energy. So energy was in the green, everything else was in the red, which isn't the prettiest sight for investors. As we know, when oil rises and other assets drop, that means that we could be getting closer to a possible recession, something many fear. And with the recent news around Israel, the United States, and Iran, fear is only increasing. As we know, just yesterday, Trump wrote on Truth Social that the people of Tehran should evacuate immediately. And then there were some bombs dropped shortly after. And then today, we did get this on Truth Social from the president. So he said that we now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to America-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. He said that, then followed up with, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, or at least for now, but we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And the last thing that the president wrote was unconditional surrender. So this fear, uncertainty, and doubt all started in the weekend when there was the attack from Israel to Iran. And there was at the beginning some uncertainty whether America was involved. But with everything we are seeing here, it does seem that America is involved with this war going on. And overall, just my personal thoughts on this war, I think it is very unfortunate. I think all war and conflict that results in death is just unfortunate. And I think it is so sad. I think it is extremely sad that we are in 2025 and these types of events are still happening. So to anybody in Israel, anyone in Iran, and of course out here in the United States, I all wish us just safety and prosperity. I'll tell you what, during days like today when the markets are dropping, compared to what is happening in those other areas of the world, it just gives me a perspective of how thankful I am to truly be here at my place right now, just safe and being able to do what I love to do, which is dress up in suits and talk about the stock market. So legitimately, I wish the best for everybody in this situation, and I hope for a quick end to the war, although we know with wars, they do seem to go on for a very, very long time. But that was all off of the economic calendar. What was on the economic calendar for this week that I wanted investors to be warned of, this is what I was just saying yesterday, because yesterday was very green, and that is that we do have the big FOMC meeting on Wednesday, and Jerome Powell is going to be talking. So at this meeting, the Fed will talk about whether there will be a rate cut. Most likely not. There is a projection about a 97% chance that the Fed does not cut rates. So most likely the Fed won't cut. And then it will be interesting to see what Jerome Powell says about future guidance. He is a pretty good speaker. So most likely what I foresee coming is that the markets will continue on the push up that they have been on. We know that there has been a strong recovery since Liberation Day, and the markets overall have been shaking off a lot of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the recent term. So around inflation, around the recent downgrading of the United States by Moody, and then even with this war, there has been some shakiness, but just like yesterday, we did have a green day. So the markets are going to be watching for this event tomorrow, which is going to be just a couple hours before the market close. So I will say what I just said yesterday to investors. Nobody has a crystal ball, and it really is unpredictable what will happen tomorrow when it comes to the markets and how it reacts to the Fed. Most likely, I foresee a push forward. I don't think anything the Fed say is going to be anything that shakes up the market, as again, it is already priced in and expected that the Fed won't cut. But of course, anything could happen. And if there's future guidance or a shift from the Fed, we could see some bleeding in the market. So with that being said, on the major indexes, we are looking a bit overbought on the relative strength index and on the MACD on both of the major indexes, and we are right back to where we were right before the big sell-off going to Liberation Day. So we are at an interesting spot in the markets, and overall, when we do go to the fear and greed index, I think this reads perfectly right around 50. So right at a 50-50 spot, I believe that is right where the markets are at. So in general, my advice to investors is just don't over leverage yourself going into tomorrow. Whatever your conviction is, just have a safe portfolio, be at a spot where you feel comfortable, because the volatility could be crazy tomorrow. Whether you're betting on the upside as a bull or on the downside as a bear, just be invested at a spot you feel comfortable at, because truly the markets are at an unpredictable spot right now. And we just did see ourselves trail from being at levels of greed down to levels right in the neutral zone. So again, right at about 50-50, it's going to be very interesting to see what the economic data brings for tomorrow. And so with that being said, with the overall market being red, this could present a buying opportunity for investors. So we're going to talk about two defense stocks here, both very closely related. We're going to talk about Palantir, and we're going to talk about BigBearAi. So before I get into it, as always, you know, this is not financial advice, and I always recommend doing your own due diligence before making any financial decisions. So first, we're going to start out with Palantir here, and Palantir sitting at $138, just hit an all-time high yesterday. So was up in the $140 range. There was a bit of a sell-off today, but very minimal, especially when we zoom out and look at the all-time chart for Palantir. So Palantir has been soaring, and the reason why I bring up Palantir is because with all the talk going on around the war between Iran and Israel, and with this Truth Social post right here about the control that the United States has over the sky, I think that brings up this interesting topic of the Golden Dome. So we know that Trump has talked about this idea of the Golden Dome. If you don't know what that is, just like I have highlighted here, it is a proposed multi-layered defense system for the USA intended to detect and destroy various foreign threats, including ballistic, hypersonic, and cruise missiles before they launch or during their flight. So basically a big dome to protect over the United States. And why this is interesting for Palantir is because Palantir, with the technology they provide, they could definitely be a front runner here when it comes to the Golden Dome to get a big contract with the government. And we do know that Palantir has been gaining big contracts with the government for some time now, and their quarterlies have only been getting stronger. So if Palantir does end up getting a contract here with the government, I think this will be very interesting, because this will even further explode the stock towards the upside. And with Palantir, there are going to be some bears that do want to point out the high price to earnings ratio, the premium that you are paying for Palantir. But I have been hearing this for a very long time. So my original videos on Palantir were back when it was at $30. And I remember one commenter wrote something along the lines of how overpriced Palantir is and how much of an idiot I was for recommending Palantir. Well, this was just at $30. So Palantir gaining over $100 worth of value from that point. And that is because, again, if you look at what Palantir is doing, the intrinsic value behind this company only continues to grow. Their quarterlies have only been getting better with time. Their quarterlies will only continue to get better with time. And Alex Karp and Palantir is right in the White House. So Palantir, with their technologies being used a lot by the government, this could be looked a lot like a government company because of all that they provide. So with that being said, when we do zoom out and we look at the technical analysis for Palantir, it is riding higher up on the relative strength Strength Index and also on the MACD. So the stock is looking a bit overvalued in the short term, but overall, I don't believe there will be a big sell-off with Palantir. We could lose 5-10%, but overall, I do believe that this stock will only continue to gain value towards the upside because of everything that they are offering. And again, with the tensions that we are seeing currently, and with there being fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the airspace, and with Palantir being able to provide AI technologies and predictive modeling technologies, everything that they provide, they are a front runner for this Golden Dome scenario. And just overall, when it comes to defense, they really have their feet deep within the mud here. And so overall, I do believe that we will continue to see the push towards the upside on Palantir. With that being said, we're now going to hop into our next defense stock here, a favorite on this channel, BigBearAi. And BBAI had a decent day today, was up in the green at one point today, was all the way up to $4.30, tapped right on this level of resistance. So it got rejected right around 430, close to 440. The next major level of resistance would be right around 450. And so a lot of selling going on, a lot of pressure right around that 430 zone. But it is interesting, and it was positive to see Big Bear reach that spot today, because overall, when we do look in the trend that has been building in the Big Bear in the short term, we have been battling in this sideways channel with the major levels of resistance being right around 415, 430, and then the highest level being 450. And so Big Bear got very close to reaching at that highest level of resistance in the short term, was rejected right around $4.30 today. But what is strong is the stock is still holding up around $4. And then when we look at the other indicators of the relative strength index and on the MACD, we do see that we still have opportunity to run up higher on those as well. And Big Bear, a very interesting play, because again, we're talking a lot about the war and everything that is going on. Well, Big Bear has a lot of technology that is all around face scan technology. They are implemented heavily in the airports, and a big reason for Big Bear at the airports is for knowing who comes into the airports. They have it for the American citizens, but what it is more used for is international travelers, to know if any criminals are coming into the United States of America. So Big Bear sitting at an interesting position, especially with all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt going around travel. And so with Big Bear also, we have been seeing an increase in the volume lately. So when we do look at the volume chart, we do see that more and more investors are hopping into the Big Bear, and rightfully so, because in the short term with Big Bear, there has been a lot of opportunities for little pump and dumps, to say a lot of opportunities where the stock will rise up to just similar today around 430, around $4, and then it will dump back down to right around 4 or slightly under. So Big Bear has been having some big pumps and some big dumps in the short term, but overall investors do have their eye on this. We could see that with the increased volume. And then what I think is really interesting with the Big Bear, there has been a lot of pressure around the resistance levels, especially around 430 and 450, but it will be interesting to see what happens with the Big Bear when it does soar past these levels, because when we do look at the short interest in the Big Bear, we could see that there's a significant short interest at 23%. So a lot of shorting going on within the Big Bear and a lot of volume overall. This is a very popular stock right now, and if we do see Big Bear break past these levels of resistance, we could seriously see the Big Bear have a big pop from all that short interest that would cause a lot of short covering as well. So myself, I am very bullish on the Big Bear, and I am very excited to see what comes in the near term with this sideways channel that we have been on. So what I am hoping for tomorrow is that Big Bear does continue to hold at the price of around $4. And with this being an AI defense stock, same as Palantir, I do have a lot of faith in these companies, especially with everything that is going to be happening here in the short term. So some short-term fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the war, and then of course the interest rate decisions tomorrow. I think think that these stocks sit at a good position because war is unfortunate, war is horrible, but positioning yourself in defensive stocks during times of war isn't the worst thing you could do with your portfolio. So I would be curious to hear what everyone else thinks in the comment section below. Please let me know if you are bullish or bearish on either the Big Bear, Palantir, both or neither. Please just drop that comment down in the section below. Let me know your opinion. Please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I thank you guys all so much for being here again, as always, doing this daily talk of stock. This is one of my favorite activities to do during the day, and I really, really love the audience and all the support that I see. So you guys keep me motivated to do this. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next daily talk of stock.